Continuing forward with dashboard presentations, today I'll be presenting on personalizing and customizing dashboards. So welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I'll demonstrate using the newer Kinetic interface, and remember again to put any questions in the chat window for me to answer at the end of the presentation. So building on some of the previous demonstrations about dashboards, today I'll show you some ways to personalize and customize your dashboards. We'll cover different ways of personalizing by showing or hiding columns, rearranging your column orders, sorting, ascending or descending, and saving your layouts. And we'll cover topics for customizing, filters for your dashboards, filter and group by options, show or hide columns, customize using row rules, and customizing your filters. And then we'll go into more details on each of these subjects in the following slides. So for personalizing to show or hide your columns, when you open any dashboard in Epicor, you can use the personalized columns option available in the overflow menu. This is called the overflow menu. And to show or hide the columns, you select personalized columns, and then you can drag the little slider to make it blue for any that you want to show, and drag it to make it black for any that you don't want to show that would be hidden. As long as you have personalization permissions for your Epicor user, you have these options to personalize your dashboards. Personalized columns opens to allow you, the columns window opens to allow you to turn on or off the columns. Show equals on, hide equals off. I will be turning off the entry person column. That's why I have it highlighted here, and turning on the on time column to show that column in my example. Notice there also is a search area to find a field if you do not want to look manually. Click Save when you're done selecting your changes. Okay, for rearranging the column order in your dashboard, here are a couple examples of rearranging. Similar to how you can arrange in Epicor Classic, you can click a column header to select it and drag it to a position in the grid that you would like to see that column displayed. Notice the arrow-like indicator. It kind of looks like an arrow. That's going to indicate where, when you're dragging it, you're going to place your column. It's going to be between the two columns that will be the location for your new column once you let go of your mouse. First, I moved the part column to be between the pack line and the customer, and then I moved the quantity shipped column to be after the part and before the customer. Another option in personalizing is to sort ascending or descending. Once you have your columns in the order that you want to see them in, you can also sort them as ascending or descending, but only by one column at a time. The top grid shows the data sorted ascending by the ship date. So it's pointing up means it's ascending, and it's ascending by the ship date. Although looks like all of them have the same ship date there, but the bottom grid shows descending order based on the on-time calculation. So it's pointing down for descending, and you can see the numbers for the calculated on-time delivery days, I guess. The date probably between the ship date and when it was supposed to be shipped probably is what the on-time calculation is. Anyway, whatever it is, it's sorted in descending order. If you try to sort another column, your first sort selection is no longer in place. So that's what I was saying about you can only do one at a time, basically. The last option that we have for personalizing is saving your layouts. When you finally have your columns showing or hidden and they are in the column order that you like and they're sorted as you like, you can then choose to save layouts. Again, that'll be from the overflow menu. You'll have an option to save layouts. Taking this extra step will mean that the next time you open your dashboard, those personalizations that you now set up will be there for you. Notice when reopening my dashboard, the on time is sorted descending, and the part and quantity shipped are after the line column. These are personalizations which are for you personally. If you want the layout for everyone to be the standard format, an application studio layer will need to include similar layouts. Now on to the customizing parts of your dashboard. So the first option is you can customize your filters for your dashboard. In Kinetic, Epicor uses a drop-down to show your filtered tabs that were previously separate sheets or slash tabs in Classic. Here, the sales order shipment status dashboard shows the 5 different filters or views, all pending, shipped, shipped not invoiced, and invoiced. Using Application Studio, you can see each filter is set up in the panel card grid properties. So in Application Studio, you'll select the grid and go to the grid view options, and you can add view basically that you're going to use to filter. You just name it and point it to your EP binding and which BAQ it's based on. And then your lower right picture shows that you define the filter by going into the BAQ options. So under the view options at the bottom, there's a BAQ options, and then you go to the where list, and you can add as many where list options that you want to. It's basically saying this condition plus whatever other conditions if you had more than one. So in this case, the pending view has the column ship head ready to invoice equal to false. So that if you pick the pending ones, they're not already selected as shipped, basically. Defining the column condition and value sets up the filter. So notice for the view options and the where list, you can add additional items by clicking the plus icon. So you can repeat the view options and where list for the shipped, shipped not invoiced, and invoiced views. Next, for customizing, you can have the filter and group by options. So using Application Studio, you can create a custom layer for your dashboards. In this custom layer, I set the checkbox at the grid level. So you select the grid, and at the grid level, you select the checkbox to show filter and group options. So that just gives you the ability to possibly show the grid and the filter and group options. I also set the options at the grid model level. So at the grid, and then you move down to where it shows the grid model. And then you have these options for groupable and filterable. This allows the filter icon to be shown, and when you click the filter icon, the group option also becomes available. So when you click this filter icon, you'll get the filters and you'll get the group area for grouping your dashboard. On the grid model back here, if you uncheck one of the items, you would only see the group by or the filter options. The filter icon is shown when you check the groupable box without the filterable checked. But when you try to filter, so you click that checkbox, it won't show these rows with the filters if you only have groupable. It would just show the top part here that it's groupable. No filters will be available below each column heading. For customizing, you can also show or hide columns. As I mentioned, in personalization, they would only be for you, and this can be set up to show or hide columns for everyone. When you want to show or hide them, you'll modify a custom layer to show or hide the columns. First, you click the panel card and grid that you need to show or hide the columns for. Then use the grid model columns properties to add columns. And you can click the plus to add each column that you want to be shown. And you also have the ability to, if you add the columns here, to check that they're hidden. So you can, toggle them on and off if you really wanted to in your columns definition. You also have the options to use the grid model columns hidden to just say which columns are going to be hidden, and then the rest would be shown. Otherwise, Epicor shows you all your columns if you don't do either of these, and they're in a different random order. I think it's usually like alphabetical order of the column names. You can also customize your dashboards using row rules. Setting up your row rules in your dashboards is fairly easy. The hardest part will be determining the data view and choosing your options, and you may have some trial and testing to find the best options. First, add a new data rule by clicking on the Data Rules button and clicking the plus sign, and then defining a data rule here. I call it order quantity high. Next, define the actual rule as shown in our example for this order quantity high. When the order release selling required quantity is greater than the value of 1,000, that's our condition. So we set up the description and that we want to use a condition. And then we have our actions area. You pick from the drop downs what action you want and then preview the results in your dashboard. So in my actions, I selected the status of a warning, and that makes your rows yellow for that condition. Notice the rows are yellow if the quantity is higher than 1,000, which is the warning status chosen. And notice the top row is equal to 1,000, and the other rows that are not yellow are below 1,000. So the rule is not in effect for those rows of your dashboard. Customizing your filters. If you do not want the auto slider to open when you load an already created dashboard, you can use the copy events to copy. Usually there's a form on load event. So I just copied that form on load, and it has all the same things that form on load had. And then if you want to, you can delete the last item there. It's the slider open, so that when your dashboard opens, it doesn't automatically open your dashboard filters. And this is the dashboard filters in the example for the sales order shipment dashboard. Other than that, you need to change the trigger of this new event you created to the type event override and override the original form on load. Of course, then you likely want to add a button or another control and an on-click event for the button to open the filters. So you don't want it to open at the beginning of your dashboard, but you might want to open your filters to put information in them any other time that you have your dashboard open. So you can click the button to say open filters, and that we created a on-click event for the button to open that original slider that we moved off of here, named slider.dashboard filters. You can also customize the filters shown as your view options. You can add a new view option as shown in the grid view options. Here I added the really late is the name of it. And as mentioned, you have to have the EP binding, your description, BAQ ID, and then you move to the BAQ options to get the where list. And then I put in the same first condition that the pending had to say show the ready to invoice equals false, but I also only want those where the calculated on time is greater than or equal to 100. So here's the original dashboard showing the pending view, sorted descending by the on time, and you can see there's more than just the 4 that are shown on the really late results here. So the really late goes by the more than 100 for the on time.